It's 6:32, 2 minutes late. So we'll call the meeting to order. So this is the May meeting of the Municipal Council for the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. And I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. And of course, it's an exceptional pleasure to have our MP, Michael Barrett, with us tonight. And Michael will be speaking just shortly. Also a pleasure to have our auditor, but not quite as big a pleasure. Although things do look very good. So the second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that motion.
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
You've heard the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then item number 3 on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening?
None.
No disclosures, and the minutes will so reflect. So now we come to delegations and presentations, and the first delegation is, or presentation is from our MP, Michael Barrett. So Michael, welcome. Pleasure to have you back home again.
Well, thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll stand. Just keep me in one place. Members of council, staff, folks, it's great to be here in Edwardsburg Cardinal this evening for your meeting and to speak with you for the first time officially as your member of parliament, and to speak to our new council. Since you were elected, you were all sworn in the day of the by-election, as you know, so it feels like it's been a very long time for me. I know it probably does for all of you as well, having gone through a budget since then, and already seeing your auditor at this point in the cycle. I was asked on the way in if I miss it, and absolutely is the answer. And so it's really great to be here. So I had the pleasure to speak with the mayor in his capacity as warden and members of county's council a few weeks ago, and I've been trying to get to as many councils as I can to make this first introduction and to identify some of my priorities officially to the councils, and those priorities have been informed by conversations that I've had with some of you and with members of the public. The linkage that I undertook during the campaign and knocking on doors, knocked on over 7,000 doors, and so heard a lot of different perspectives from across the riding of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes. And locally, we knocked on an awful lot of doors as well, and heard very consistent messages and desires from our neighbors. And the 3 big ones, and I don't want to extend your meeting too long because I appreciate and fully respect how busy you are, and I know there's people here this evening to observe and to take part in the meeting. Broadband internet, and so connectivity and closing that cell gap is so important. So we'll call that digital infrastructure. Investing in digital infrastructure here in the riding is very important. In the previous session of Parliament, the government invested $110 million in Eastern Ontario broadband. That technology moves very quickly, and that investment was good. It was good, and it's served its purpose, but more funds were needed. In budget 2019, the federal government announced a broadband strategy that would close the gap across Canada, connect everyone by 2030. And the message from the Eastern Ontario Regional Network is that if the investment is not made this year, it's too late. And that message was received by all of my colleagues from both sides of the aisle. That message was passed on to the government, including a minister of the government signed that letter. So Liberals and Conservatives alike agree that the Eastern Ontario Regional Network project is ready, and it is vitally important to our region. And very pleased, as I'm sure all of you are, that the provincial government has committed $71 million to that effort as well. My lobbying on this file, I feel like it is just beginning, because we are in a phase in this Parliament where the government is making decisions about which projects to fund. That funding announcement having not been made by the federal government at this point, I will be calling on all of the signatories of those letters from both the from both the Liberals and the Conservative caucus to continue to press and advocate to the Minister of Infrastructure on that. As you'll know, my predecessor, Gord Brown, was a strong advocate of this project, and he was one of the original signatories supporting Eastern Ontario Regional Network's work as well. So you can expect that from me, and I won't belabor the point by going over the values and the importance of that digital infrastructure, but we all know that connecting to the digital economy and having the safety and assurance of basic 911 coverage when you're using your cell phone is tremendously important. Infrastructure funding, we know that undertaking the budget process as municipalities is a tremendous challenge. The list of things to do is always longer than the list of things you can afford to do. And this year, we saw the doubling of the gas tax from the federal government. That's good news in a budget cycle, but in an election year, my desire is that government come up with more stable and more predictable forms of funding for infrastructure in our communities, and so that there's an ability to do some planning, and that it's not necessarily a project lottery every year. I think that it's the process can be improved, and this is something where I'll ask you to take away and certainly encourage staff to reach out to my office on ways that process can be improved, and that I can make those recommendations to my colleagues and make those recommendations to the government. When we have small and medium-sized municipalities having to hire consulting firms to prepare project applications, that's an added cost. That's more money that's not being spent in the municipality oftentimes, and so having predictable forms of funding is important. The county has identified a signature or a top priority project in County Road 43, and I've been advocating for and have written to and spoken to the minister on the advancement of that project. And so infrastructure funding is critically important. Here in Edwardsburg Cardinal, I know very well the work that has been done on the asset management plan, and I know that work continues. It's critical work. Certainly the homework that's been done in this municipality is a very good example to others, and what it does is it sets you up in a way that you can do that planning, and the intergovernmental cooperation needs to be undertaken so that you can maximize the time and effort and treasure that you've spent on that effort, and life cycle your assets in an appropriate way, in the best way possible for the ratepayers. And taxation is the third thing that we heard. The pocketbook issue, the bottom line on taxes. We heard an awful lot. I asked the question a lot, and heard a lot about the addition of a carbon tax and the impact that has. For example, I met with local farmers on Friday, and the biggest impact that they're having is not necessarily on the relief that they're getting on their farm fuel, because that component is in place, but everyone that they interact with is paying the carbon tax. And so the price of everything is increasing, the cost of doing business is going up, and they can't necessarily increase the cost of their goods, particularly for some of our hard-working farmers in the supply managed sectors. So there's a real challenge there, and certainly my caucus colleagues, we've been advocating for the carbon tax not to come into force. Now it's in force, and you can expect that on the subject of the supposed purpose of the carbon tax, which is to be of a benefit to the environment, that we'll put forward a comprehensive environmental plan that will substantively and actually address the concerns that we face in terms of being good stewards of our environment. But by way of correcting bad behavior, I've said it before, I'll say it here this evening, in my own personal experience, the bad behavior of heating my home is not one that I can correct by more than half a degree without causing some matrimonial friction in my house. And my commuting time or driving time is what it is, as I'm sure it is for all of my neighbors and everyone here in this room. So finding real ways to make those improvements is certainly important. You know, handing off a cleaner environment to our next generation than we received is fundamentally important, but doing it in such a way that it doesn't make life more unaffordable for the citizens of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Ounce, and Rideau Lakes is a top priority for me, and that's something that I heard very consistently, and I appreciate that that is not a universally held position, but I do have a respect for and look forward to the announcement of our plan on the environment and taking feedback from folks, good, bad, and indifferent on that. So those three things were the three things that I heard most often about in my travels and here locally, and working very hard on advancing those issues. You'll know that my work in Ottawa includes my role as a permanent member of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights, and so I had the opportunity to have a front row seat to a very interesting political goings-on with the SNC-Lavalin affair, and that was certainly interesting, but we're dealing with a variety of issues and studies and trying to get them completed before the end of the session. I'm going to have the opportunity to host a local group tomorrow from Girls Inc., and so that's a tradition that my predecessor had begun with his counterpart, Minister Clark, in having the Girls Government Program, the ladies from Girls Inc. come and experience a day, and so those ladies will join me at committee, and I'm going to host a reception for them and some female parliamentarians, and look forward to having that opportunity as far as engaging them. And my role as appointed by the leader of the Conservative Party, the Honourable Andrew Scheer, as the Deputy Shadow Minister for Small Business and Export Promotion, that's given me great opportunity to interact with key stakeholders in the region, in Ontario, but also across Canada. And it's very interesting and has given me the opportunity to focus what I think is most important in my role as a legislator outside of the riding, and that's on supporting our entrepreneurs, supporting our small and medium-sized business owners, because the sacrifice and the risk that they take to propel our economy forward, and the jobs that they create are so important. And so, while it's great, political parties often talk about who created how many jobs which month, and I'm sure we'll never get two levels of government to agree on who's responsible for jobs lost in a quarter, but everyone will also disagree on who is responsible for all the jobs created in a quarter. It's never the government that's creating the jobs, and it's always Canadians who've done it, and so finding ways to support them and remove the regulatory burdens that prevent them from starting, growing, and expanding their businesses is a top priority for me in that role in my portfolio. And in that light is how I approach the application process for any grants and initiatives that the government invites applications and expressions of interest for, so that we can remove the burdens and simplify the process, streamline and simplify the process. So as I said, it's not an undue burden for the municipalities to engage. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions from your council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. The most important message I'd like to impart on you, your staff, and everyone here this evening is that myself and my constituency and my parliamentary staff are at the service of the residents of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Ounce, and Rideau Lakes. We're here to serve, for information, for assistance on all things that we can. In North Grenville, so here in Grenville County, in July we'll be opening a full-time constituency office to better serve the residents of our riding. So to match the services that are being offered in Brockville on a full-time basis, we'll now also be offering them in North Grenville, in the town of Kemptville. So I look forward to offering increased and improved service with a tremendous team who are all here working for you. Our door is always open. Please call anytime.
Well, just in response so quickly, and I'm pleased to hear that you'll take a few questions. So,
And sorry, Mr. Mayor, it occurred to me when I said I'd be short that I actually probably only had 10 minutes, and so I didn't know how much time I'd taken when that calculation kicked in, so I burned my 10 minutes.
Well, I'm sure a few of the councilors would like a question or two, so, but just before I do that, I just want you to know that as far as the gas tax goes, we took advantage of the fact that our gas tax this year was doubling to complete the work that we had planned for Pittston Road.
Right.
We thought we'd only get about half of it done with the money we had available, but when that other half of the gas tax became available, we'll be able to complete Pittston Road. Wanted to just to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that County Road 43 is a county priority, and we don't want to upset that. But we will also be submitting, under that same program, Roads and Bridges, we'll be submitting Rooney Road for a complete upgrade as well. And then I'll just have a few words of thanks just at the end on another matter. But do any of the councilors have a question for the MP?
Mr. Mayor, on applications, I'd encourage through you to your staff to please make my office aware anytime there's an application, including if any of the departments apply for Canada's Summer Jobs. We like to be able to have awareness and visibility on who's looking for those jobs, how well they worked in the previous year, so that we can ensure that our regional priorities are matched with the distribution of those jobs.
Oh, okay. So anybody question for the MP?
I just, one, Mr. Baird I think it's great that you're opening up an office in North Grenville. I think it's well overdue, and it will be well used, I'm sure, so. And continue on your good work that you're doing.
Thanks very much, Councilor, I appreciate that.
Just to thank you, Mr. Barrett, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just thank you, MP Barrett, for taking the time today to come and address council.
You guys can call me Mike.
Great to have you here.
Okay, but thanks very much, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you dropping in. Glad to see you still know where your home is.
Absolutely, and Councilor Hunter, I'm home every night, and I'm struggling with the decision on whether to break my streak, and if we go till midnight tomorrow night and I'm required back in Ottawa on Wednesday morning before 8, I may have to spend one night away from home. But I'm very pleased and blessed, in fact, to be able to come home every night, and so I appreciate that.
So just in closing, I wanted to thank you one more time for coming here, but also to thank you for your visit to the Port of Johnstown last week. I think it was Wednesday, which gave us an opportunity to review our application under the National Trade Corridors Fund. And anything that you can say to your Liberal members, Liberal friends in the area, the trading area that's served by the Port of Johnstown, certainly be appreciated. So our application went in on Friday, complete. We crossed every I and dotted every T. And so any help you can give us would be appreciated there.
I will mention it to the regional members of the Liberal caucus that their support and advocacy in support of that application would be appreciated.
Thanks very much. Now, as I tell all of the people that come and present to us, you're more than welcome to stay for the whole meeting. It's better than dinner and a movie.
Usually true, but I'm gonna see if I can get at least dinner by getting home at a good hour. So thanks for the invitation.
Thanks very much for coming by.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And our second presentation this evening is going to be the presentation of our financial statements. Mr. Ian Murphy from our accounting firm, Miles Norris Penny. So, Mr. Murphy, you have the chair, or the floor rather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, I'm going to go through these financial statements. If anyone has any questions, please interrupt. I'll try to not jump all over the place too quickly. Starting on the first page, this is the independent auditor's report So we are issuing a clean audit opinion on these financial statements. So our opinion paragraph is at the beginning of the auditor's report this time. So it says, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the municipality as of December 31st, 2018, results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So these 2 pages of the audit report basically go on to say that we're issuing a clean opinion on these statements. It's our version of saying that these numbers are correct without really saying that they are correct. Turning to page 3 is the statement of financial position. So this gives you a breakdown of the assets and liabilities of the municipality on December 31st. You'll notice total assets, $43,251,000. Majority made up of your investment in Port of Johnstown and Rideau St. Lawrence Holdings. You have total liabilities of just over $8 million, leaving net financial assets of $35 million at the end of the year. This corresponds to from $32 million from the year before, so you've increased that just under $3 million for the year. Again, the majority is coming from the surplus in the Port of Johnstown. You'll notice at the bottom of the page you have an accumulated surplus, so this is an accumulated PSAP surplus of $70,818,000. And if you turn the page to page 9, this gives a breakdown of where this accumulated surplus is attributed to. At the bottom, you'll notice there's an invested in tangible capital assets of just under $30 million. So out of that 70 million of accumulated surplus, 30 is attributable to your infrastructure and related assets that the township controls. General surpluses amount to $35 million, of which 34 is for the Port of Johnstown, and another 600 is for the Rideau St. Lawrence Holdings. You have various surpluses, land inventory, EMS, and they're already broken down above that. As well, in the middle, you have your reserves and reserve funds. So you have your reserves that council has set aside for specific purposes. These amount to $2,400,000 at the end of the year, up slightly from the year before. Reserve funds set aside by legislation ended at $4,110,000, a slight decrease from the year before of just under $100,000. Overall, your total reserves and reserve funds make up over 60% of your operating expense budget for a year. So one of the benchmarks that we use is to have an idea of where your reserves should be is anywhere from 25 to 50% for a lower tier municipality. So you're above that range, which is in a very solid position. We say that with a word of caution that your reserve funds are only as good as they're going to be spent in the future years. So if you're going to spend a whole bunch of those in the next year or next three-year period, that level can change significantly. So don't be alarmed that they're over that range. There's reason for those specific reserves. That's always a good thing as well. So you don't want to dip below the 25%, but being over for a period of time is not a bad thing as well. We jump back to page 4. This is the statement of financial activities. So this is the income statement for the year ended December 31st. Total revenue was up just over 5% to $11,040,000. Expenses increased as well, just over 2% for the year compared to the prior year, so $10,320,000. You have some other revenue related to capital, and then the equity income from Port of Johnstown and Rideau St. Lawrence, giving a total PSAP surplus for the year of $3,780,000. So I'll get you to switch pages again, and if you turn to page 23, this breaks down where we report on your surplus of $3.7 million compared to what you budget for on an operating basis. We report on two different bases. So the schedule on this page here breaks down the surplus for the year of 3.7 million at the top, bringing it all the way down to the bottom where it has an operating surplus for the year of 188,000. So this is the actual budget surplus for the year for the municipality. So, and then that's broken down into three various surpluses: the library board, which has their own surplus, the water and sewer operations, which is allocated separately, and then the general operations. So you have the general operations surplus of 154,000, and the water and sewer at 28,000 for the year. So overall, right in line with budget. These surpluses represent less than 2%, so it's actually 1.8% of the actual budget as a surplus. So your administration was able to be right in line with the budget that you guys have set out. Switching back a few pages, another item that we highlight is on page 7. This is the schedule of capital assets. There's two schedules here, one broken down by type of asset and one by the department. On page 7, you'll notice total additions for the year, 2,474,000. We compare that to your total amortization for the year, 1.6 million. Just to make sure that you're in line with maintaining your infrastructure and your assets. So one of the key issues is funding for those capital assets, having the grant money available and having the resources to spend. One of the easiest ways to do that, to keep the tax rate low, is to defer projects and postpone them from year to year. That's not being done here, so you're doing a good job of maintaining. So what we'd like to see is spending capital above the rate of amortization, because you'll know the amortization is based on historical values. A truck that you bought 10 years ago is not going to be the same cost today. So while the amortization was based on the 10-year-old vehicle, it's going to cost much more than that to replace. So you want to see your actual additions to the capital assets are higher than the amortization rate over a period of time. Then you'll notice that you're actually spending 1.5 times more on capital assets than the amortization charge for the year. So you're doing a good job of maintaining that asset base.
So that's the 2.474 million additions compared to the amortization of 1.6 million?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So another key area is to look at the net book value. Now this is just an estimate of those values, but it basically gives you an idea of how long those assets are expected to last from a life cycle point of view. So at the end of the year, you're just over 50% on a global scale of those assets. So your infrastructure is still in good shape from a financial number perspective. So it kind of gives you a guideline on where you are on that basis.
And where is that, how do you relate that net book value to the value of the assets?
So
You're saying they're worth 35 million net.
yeah, and it cost you, so right in the middle, it cost you 69,700,000.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
that ratio, there shows you've got just 51% of the value left. And the other area that we highlight is at the back of the financial statements, we have a 5-year financial reserve, or financial review, sorry. So this shows the different metrics for the township over the last 5 years.
What's that page?
Last 2 pages.
There's actually no page
okay.
numbers on it, but it would be page 26 and 27 of the financial statements. So this gives you a brief summary of the operations. You'll notice total revenue in 2014 of $9,110,000. Now it's up to $11,042,000. So overall, it's gone up 20%, 21% over the last 5 years, or just over 4% a year. Your expenses, which is basically what you guys have control over. Revenue, you don't have as much control over. User fees and grants that you receive are not as controllable by you. So the expenses is where you have the control. It went from 9,571,000 in 2014 up to 10,320,000, so up just under 8% over the last 5 years. So you've been able to control your costs over the last number of years, so you've been under 2% for those, on an average, for those years, so maintaining or actually beating inflation for the last number of years. We've got a summary of the total taxes billed throughout the year and the taxable assessments throughout the years as well. So you'll notice one of the ways you've been able to generate more taxation dollars without actually increasing the taxation rate as much as the revenue's gone up. So the actual taxation revenue has increased 5.5% on average over the last 5 years, which is basically made up of the taxable assessment increases that the township has seen over the last number of years. So it's gone up 16% from 5 years ago, whereas the actual property tax bill has gone up 18%. So you're relying on assessment growth to basically generate additional tax dollars without raising that tax rate along similar lines. So the last page gives some more financial indicators, kind of some ratios on these numbers to give you an idea. Reserve coverage, like I mentioned before, is in the 60% range, but you'll notice less than 4 years ago it was down in the 40% range, so they fluctuate sometimes significantly depending on projects, specifically capital projects. But they're in a good position as of now.
Have you any advice as to what we should be aiming for that ratio?
For the reserves?
Yeah, reserves to operating expenses, you said it's at 63%.
Yeah, we like to see somewhere between 25 and 50.
Also way above that.
So you are above that. So we don't, when you're getting close to the 25%, we warn you that, you know, you gotta pay attention. Closer to 50% is better, but once you get over that, then you're in a solid position, and but again, it's a matter of what's coming up too. So you could say that 50% is good, but if you're gonna spend $2 million of it the following year building or improving some of your assets, that's gonna take a big hit out of that 63%. Then you might need that 63% in it. So it's a real moving target, but generally 25 to 50 is where you need to be. It's always better to have more, and you gotta really start paying attention closer to the lower end of the range. So that's my report on the financial statements. If there's any other questions.
So, well, I'll just open the floor up for questions here. A lot of information. I always find it interesting
Very interesting.
and hard to follow in some cases. Still have the problem with tangible capital assets. Questions?
Definitely your company does a lot of municipal audits. Your opinion on overall our township's financial statement here looks really good to me for the number of years I've served on council, but how do we compare with surrounding municipalities in Eastern Ontario?
So you're in fairly solid shape. Debt-wise, you're not, there's no big burden of debt. You've got the big arena loan outstanding. Other than that, most of it, has been financed through taxation and reserves. Reserves at 63% coverage is in solid position. Your infrastructure from a financial metric standpoint is in a solid shape compared to other municipalities as well, so you're right in line where you need to be.
You're ranking us among the better financially situated municipalities?
There's definitely lots that are in worse shape, and there's a few that are in better, but you're in the majority of the better position was.
Deputy Mayor?
Mine's more a comment than a question. First, I want to say thanks for coming in today. You provided a lot of excellent information for us. I wrote down a quote because I think as we go forward in our discussions for municipal modernization, a quote from an auditor in my head will continue to be there, and it's that we as council can control our costs. We can't control the revenues that are coming in. And that, when we've had discussions in the past, a lot of focus has been put on increasing revenues and trying to drive increased revenues. And it's nice to hear from an auditor that something that I believe as well, which is that we can't really control the revenues, but we can really control our costs.
But I find that a bit of a, the judge would disagree with you when he's awarding award in a losing case, because he'll say you have the power to tax.
Yeah, which is generated through your expenses, but
Right.
a lot of the revenue is non-controllable. The grants from the upper tier governments.
Oh, that type
And
of
the
revenue.
user fees that are generated, that type. The taxation revenue you can always control, but it's all that other grant money and user fee revenue that can fluctuate significantly and you have no control.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm glad you clarified that, because I think a lot of people misunderstand that those grants and grants in lieu are actually more than, sometimes more than 50% of our total revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Counselor?
Nothing here.
Counselor?
No, thank you, Ian, for coming. It is, for me, to get my head around all of it, so unless you wanna stay here till about 12:30 tomorrow morning. But no, thanks very much.
One more comment too, because we're been through a hard budget and stuff, and I think having you here to, I'm gonna kiss the butt here a little bit, but basically you've confirmed how good of a job that our staff has done, Melanie's done with the numbers, and it seems like there's nothing amiss or anything wrong with those numbers, so it's a testament to the staff that puts together everything in the way they do it. Good job.
And I think our pre-meeting clarified the same thing,
Yes.
reaffirmed this definitely. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming then, and I hope you'll convey our best wishes to Mr. Markle, and tell him that as great a presentation as we had, we still miss him.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian.
Okay, so I'm moving on then now to item number 5 on the agenda. And item number 5 on the agenda is the receipt and approval of various minutes. And the first is the regular meeting of April 22nd, Councillor Hunter.
With myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, municipal council received and approved the minutes of the regular meeting dated April 22nd, 2019.
Thank you very much. Questions, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried, thank you. And I'm turning now to the special meeting of May the 13th, Councillor Zillabov.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council receives and approves the minutes of special council meeting dated May 13th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried, thank you. And so now to business arising. Is there any business arising from either of those two previous meetings of council? I have a couple, but I'll let the others go first. None? So my first question is on page 4 of 9 of the council meeting. And through the CAO, if I may, to the Director of Operations, we approved on page 4 of 9 the construction contract for Pittston Road and Weir Road. Do we have a start date for that hot mix paving contract?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, our crews will be starting next week with cross culvert installations, and the rough time frame for paving is mid to end of July.
Mid to end of July, our crew's starting first. And then on page 6 of 9, same page, to the CAO, if I may, the Distant Shores, has that building permit been issued?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a good answer to that, although the building inspector did mention that he had more conversation with the contractor, and I did speak with the contractor last week. It must be, if it hasn't been issued, it must be very close.
Imminent.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. My questions. I'm moving to item number 7 on the agenda, which is the receipt of various committee meetings. And the first is a public library board meeting. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated March 26, 2019.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. And then the Port Management Committee of April the 17th, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated April 17th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And then budget meeting number 7 of April the 18th, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of budget meeting number 7, the meeting dated April 18th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the public meeting concerning the Mulder rezoning, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council receives the minutes of the public meeting, Mulder rezoning of parcel abutting 51 Center Street dated May 6, 2019.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And so that was the public meeting concerning Mulder. And now I'm at the Community Development Committee meeting of May the 6th. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting dated May 6, 2019.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And then the Committee of the Whole meeting of May the 13th, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated May 13th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And then the Committee of the Whole meeting Public Works, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities, meeting dated May 21st, 2019.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now to the action and information items arising from those various committee meetings. Again, for the benefit of staff, or excuse me, the benefit of the public, these items have all been discussed in very detailed discussions at the various committee meetings. So this may appear to be rather perfunctory, and because most of the discussion has taken place earlier. So the first item coming forward from committees is a severance application for Sands. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council recommend in favor of severance B-19-19 Sands as recommended by the Community Development Committee.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then the severance application for Grant. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council recommend in favor of severance B-26-19 Grant as recommended by the Community Development Committee.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the next one is the community grants and donations. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and second by Councillor Cameron that the municipality council accommodate the late request from the Sprinceville Scout Group for the in-kind donation use of the upstairs hall in the township office, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole and Administration of Finance.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the charitable receipts for vehicles. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council endorse the issuance of a charitable receipt to township residents in the amount of $500 for derelict vehicles donated to the Edwardsburg Cardinal Fire Department for training purposes as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So anyone wishing to donate a derelict vehicle to the Edwardsburg Cardinal Fire Department can receive a $500 charitable receipt from the township. And moving on then to transfer to reserves, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council directs staff to transfer $1,100 from the nomination deposits account 01-2405 to the election reserve account 01-3513 as recommended by the Committee of Whole, Admin and Finance.
Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And moving on. 8F, concerning an unopened road allowance, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that municipal council approve the request for use of an unopened road allowance to enable farm machinery to access their agricultural land on Lot 12, Concession 3, and direct staff to develop an agreement with the owner stipulating the conditions for the use, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And the temporary closure on Gooden Road, I think it is. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the municipality council approve the request for partial closure of the Gooden Road between the civic addresses of 2927 and 3012 on June 22nd, 2019, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. for the Optimist Club Soapbox Derby, and direct staff to supply barricades and work with the Optimist Club to ensure the notification is provided to to affected residents and emergency services, as recommended by the committee of the whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
And item number 8H, a pickup truck tender. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council cancel the pickup truck tender ECPW 1907 as recommended by committee of the whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Okay, motion to cancel a pickup truck tender. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
So this brings that tender to a close. We have canceled the tender because we weren't able to get pickup truck for the price and the conditions that we were seeking. And item 8I, report grain elevator roof repair. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council award the grain elevator roof repair project to DL Construction and Roofing Limited in the amount of $172,340 excluding HST, plus a contingency of $2,660 as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Each year the port does this bit of work on the roof, so it seems to be a continuous process. No discussion, I'll call the question on the motion. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then lastly, 8J, the 2018 Township Financial Statement. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the 2018 Township Financial Statement.
Okay, and so I'm assuming that the motion to receive the auditor's report will come forward at the, when the statements get into their final form. We need a motion to receive the auditor's report as well. The auditor's statement or the auditor's report. Unless you're gonna regard that statement on the first page as the auditor's report.
We don't typically do a second resolution for the auditor's report. It's one package that's received, that includes the report and the financial statement.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, are we, as council, going through the change in approval processes?
Say that again, no?
Are we going on page 1 where the recommendations, change in approval of processes?
Oh, that's a different issue. We'll deal with that in camera.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, and just for my own clarification, are we talking about the credit card
Yes,
policy changes?
yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to deal with that in camera, I don't think. It'll just come forward as part of a policy review document next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
It'll come to a committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, where am I here? Didn't call the question
Not
yet.
yet.
Those in favor of the motion, please
Aye.
signify. Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, so then, item number 9 on the agenda is to approve the correspondence packages. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. And it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council receives the correspondence listings for the following dates as previously circulated: April 24th, 2019, May 2nd, 2019, May 9th, 2019, May 16th, 2019, May 23rd, 2019.
Thank you. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item number 10 on the agenda, approval of the municipal disbursement sheet. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron, that the municipality council approves payment to municipality invoices circulating date as follows. Reported date, May 1st, 2019, $308,543.41. Report date, dated May 13th, 2019, $100,741.02. Reported dated May 23rd, 2019, $419,906.04. Total, $812,190.47.
Okay, get the motion, please, Councilor Cameron. All right, so, discussion if any?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to ask staff for some, just clarification on, I get page 7. About halfway down the page, there's some invoice number 130737. I'm just wondering what the WMPPS, what that stands for.
Defer to the treasurer on that one.
Actually, I'm gonna defer to the
There you go. Pass it
Director
down.
of Operations because it's an acronym that he.
Sure. Through the chair, that's Windmill Point Pumping Station.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Is there a generator there or something?
No.
It's fuel.
It's vehicle fuel, because we're attending that location about 3 times a week.
Oh, so you're allocating
So some of
that
the fuel
amount of
charges
fuel
will-
to that location?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, where am I? I need the motion. I've got the motion. All I have to do is call the question on the motion. Councilor Hunter.
Just to our operations manager, the cost,
Page reference?
page 2, Can-Do Enterprise Incorporated. Do we, and all the testing done there, do we get a preferential rate from them for the amount of testing they do for us?
Through the chair from Caduceon, we get, I would say that we get a preferred pricing.
You know, per test what they charge?
Each test varies depending on what's being tested.
I just wondered, it seems to be a vast amount of money we're paying them for testing, and it just didn't look like they were giving us that great of a rate, so.
The rate hasn't went up in 4 years. We had a small increase this year, but it's been pretty steady.
But is that rate negotiable?
Well, it's certainly something that you could go out, but we have there's only so many accredited laboratories in the province.
Yes.
So, in comparable, when we went out before, Caduceon has provided probably the best pricing.
And there's no nearby or easily accessible competitor.
I would say that there is not.
Did I call the question on that motion? No, I didn't. And the motion actually was to receive the municipal invoices as circulated. Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So now I'm on to item number 11 on the agenda, which are various bylaws coming forward tonight. Bylaw 11A, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. That the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-20 to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
And this bylaw introduces a change to the schedule, which is attached to the bylaw. And the amended schedule is fastened to the new bylaw. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I vote to call the question on first and second reading. Those in favor? It's carried unanimously. You can proceed to third reading.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Dickamp, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-20 to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-23.
And question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And so then I'm proceeding to bylaw 11B. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to provide for the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof for 2019, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, and for those in attendance, this bylaw sets the rates for the different tax classes. And the township tax rate for 2019 will be the same as 2018. And the county tax rate for 2019 will be the same as 2018. And the school tax rate was reduced by the province, and we use that number that we're given as the school tax rate. And it will be down slightly. So, further discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
So that's unanimous approval. You can proceed to third reading.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that a bylaw to provide for the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalty and interest in defaulted payment thereof for 2019 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-24.
Motion is on the floor. Discussion of any. Third reading. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. So we have our 2019 tax rates. And 11C, workplace violence and harassment policy. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a workplace violence and harassment prevention policy, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Calling the question. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. Proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt a workplace violence and harassment prevention policy be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-25.
Thank you very much. Third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried again. Thank you. And so now I'm at 11D, which is the site plan control agreement amendment for Mulders. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
I think that's Councillor Dillabaugh.
No, did I read it wrong?
Should be 11E then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
It's 11, yeah.
11E? Sorry. That's still.
Is it me?
No, it's D.
Wait a minute. Now, hang on. Mulders. Mulders.
There's two Mulders bylaws.
Oh, sorry, it is me. Sorry. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize amendment to the site plan control agreement, Mulders, registered as instrument PR 177794, as authorized by bylaw 2003-46, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Very good. I thought I was losing my head for a minute.
I already
See how easily led I am?
I did a double check mark.
Those in favor of the motion, please signify. So unanimous reading, and can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to authorize amendment to the site plan control agreement Mulders, registered as instrument PR 177794, as authorized by bylaw 2003-46, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-26.
Those in favor of third reading? Motion is carried. All right, now, I'm still with Mr. Mulder on a bylaw to amend his zoning bylaw. And that's Councilor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2012-35 as amended Mulder, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, so first and second reading for the zoning amendment. Those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous approval, it can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the bylaw amended, the zoning bylaw 212-35 as amended Mulder, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-27.
Okay, third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
All right, he's done.
Mr. Mulder is,
Congratulations.
except for his 21-day hold period, is on his way. Okay, now, bylaw 11F to amend zoning bylaw 2012-35, kill it. Oh, they can't be both the same bylaw, are they?
Yes.
They are?
Yes.
Okay. So, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2012-35 as amended Killick, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, first and second reading. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. My hesitation is, it's 2012-35 as amended, and we're amending it again?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, that's the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Generally undertakes many amendments before we get around to passing a new comprehensive zoning bylaw.
Okay, fair enough. So we're amending it, and the reason the word Killick is behind it is because we're amending it to suit that particular application.
And purely for record-keeping purposes, so we can find it later.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. Okay, so proceeding to third reading.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that a bylaw be amended, that a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2012-35 as amended, Killick, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-28.
19-28 amends 2012-35.
And then-
Okay, those in favor of the motion, third reading,
Aye.
motion is carried. Okay, so we're at item number 12 on the agenda, which is the CAO's administrative update. And I'm gonna let the CAO speak to the administrative update, and then we'll see if there's any questions resulting therefrom. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first little bit of news is kind of a sad thing. Our payroll clerk and accounts payable person has tendered her resignation. Brandy Phelps will be leaving effective June 5th. She's taking another position, similar position at another municipality. The workplace violence and harassment policy that was just approved by council requires all representatives to take training, including council. 2 opportunities are presented for that. One is June 13th and the other June 17th. I would ask that you check your calendars and pick whichever session suits your schedule best. John McHugh is the consultant who's helped us through this process, and he will also be providing training on the new policy. We do have the stormwater management plan for Logistec's proposed facility, so that is a step in the right direction. That just happened today. The building official is still waiting for some more information on their actual building construction plans, but that project is moving ahead, so that's good. You may recall that the claims manager was here from the insurance company and mentioned a outstanding claim and said something about it being a slip and fall, and we checked into that, and there is no slip and fall. It was a, Bell Alliant has claimed that we damaged their infrastructure during a dig. And as is often the case, we did all our proper locates, but they failed to tell us where their infrastructure actually was, so not surprisingly, we tagged it. Anyway, we've denied the claim, but we'll see where that one goes.
What's the quantum on that one, do we know?
With small dollars, I can't remember, do you remember? Yeah, it's like, I had to take a guess, but it's not big money.
Okay, I'm just worried that the insurance company will sell.
I'm kind of worried about that too, honestly, but anyway, you see. I don't know, I don't want to speak about it without knowing for sure. Did get notice that Great West Life is going to be rebranded as Canada Life next year, so that's no changes to anything except for the name, but that's something to sort of keep an eye out for. The upcoming meeting schedule, I think everybody's okay for 1 o'clock on June the 10th for that modernization fund meeting.
Could I just ask a question on that while you're there?
Sure.
How long meeting is that going to be?
Well, we have the next one at 6:30, so it'll be
Yeah.
done by then.
Well, yeah, and that's what, I mean, at 1 o'clock, and we're gonna be out of here at 1:30,
Oh, I know, I don't think that's gonna happen.
so it's gonna be a little.
Yeah, I would think it would be a couple of hours at least. Mr. Mayor, you'll be chairing that one, I expect.
Yeah, midnight, good.
Okay, okay, I'm happy with that.
There are 2 rezoning meetings on Monday, June 17th, ahead of the committee meeting, so just a reminder there. I will be away Thursday and Friday this week. I'm going to the FCM conference, just so you know. Melanie's working hard on getting the financial information return into the province. We did get the check today for the 730 truck stop receivable account, so that was good. Audit is complete. Arenas they have no ice in them. Working away at getting the pools ready to be open. We are seeing some effects from the high water down along the Legion Parkway. We have had to do some barricading of that road. It's been pretty much inundated, and we'll have to make sure that we inspect that carefully once the water goes down. Dock installation has been delayed down there as well. And, you know, there's just a lot of junk being washed up on shore, so we're cleaning up there. Roadside spray program this year, we participate with the counties on that. They'll be doing more or less the north half of the township. This year they alternate years, so every second year the roadside ditches get sprayed for wild parsnip, poison parsnip people call them. I think Walker Street is well underway, and we expect to have that second lift of asphalt on well in advance of the June 30th deadline. Dump to Donate is coming up on June the 15th in Cardinal. Everything's pretty normal at the water and wastewater plants. Yeah. That's about it. We have the emergency program bylaw nearly finished. It should be ready to come to you in June for review. That's just an update to the bylaws that we already have in place to make sure that we're in congruence with provincial legislation. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll start with Councilor, you have a question, go ahead.
Well, you go ahead, I have 2 or 3, so.
No, go ahead.
All right, the first one, Madam CAO, is the very first one regarding the cell phone policy. Could you just expand a little bit on that?
Oh, sure, thank you, Councillor Cameron. This is something we've identified as, we've been pretty inconsistent in how we issue or don't issue cell phones to staff, and who has to, who pays for data plans and who doesn't, and also the CRA is Canada Revenue Agency is on us to make sure that if there is a cell phone supplied, it's a taxable benefit, and therefore we need to add that as a income
T4 stuff.
to the T4. So we've been working through finding best practices and trying to make it consistent across the township with our policy there.
Okay, thank you. And I have another one on the first page. It's the updated workplace violence and harassment training. Could you give me an idea of how long these courses, or the course is going to be?
Sure, roughly 90 minutes.
Thank you.
Oh, 90 minutes, hour and a
Yeah,
half?
an hour and a half, yeah.
Thank you.
And the other one that I had was regarding the spraying, roadside spraying, which I know we're doing the north this year, and it does say that it's selected rural municipal roads. I was just wondering, when we do it again next year in the southern half, would it be possible to do some spraying along the Legion Way at the towards the Conestoga where it's posted? There's a fair bit of the well parcel, and that can be brought up again next year, of course.
Certainly, we did have the county weed inspector in to look at our riverside parks for poison parsnip control. He does not recommend spraying that close to the water, and so we would typically send our crews in fully covered with hazmat suits to pull it by hand. So you may see the recreation department down there. I know they did Gallup Canal last year, essentially by hand.
Okay, that's fine, thank you for that. And just my last one is regarding the, under facilities, I guess it's the very first one regarding the donation of $2,090 from the, that is from the skating group, I believe?
Yeah, the folks that skate and walk in the mornings
Ron
there,
Patterson's group?
Yeah,
Yes.
very generous. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it.
Yes, it is, I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Questions?
I just have one under the pools there. I see the Cardinal pool, Cardinal pool needs replacing. Something just broke all of a sudden. I didn't recall anything being in the budget over it.
No, it wasn't a budgeted item. It's just when they went to fire it up to get things going this spring, it wouldn't start, and they had someone in to inspect it, and we were actually able to get it into, I think it was Hewitt in Brockville, and they were able to give us a rebuild as opposed to a total new pump, so it's not as big a project as it could have been, but it's not budgeted, $2,000 there.
Yeah, lifeguard not returning, have we advertised for the
Yeah.
position yet?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes? I haven't noticed it, haven't been shared yet.
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't think it was probably widely shared because we had applicants sort of waiting in the wings.
Okay. And one more is just a comment, and it's on the closure of Legion Way. You know, we walk it pretty much every night. There's, considerable potholes, a lot of rut, beginning of rut damage. I think closure was a very wise idea, and it's preventing it from getting in a much worse position than it already is. So hopefully it'll stay that way until long after the water goes down, and maybe we can get a little work done to it. That's good. Thank you.
Do we grade that? Legion Way?
Do we grade Legion? Director of Operations, do we grade Legion Way?
The upper portion is, but the first portion is Service Street.
Okay. Councillor Cameron, you want to back in again?
Yeah.
Councillor Dillabaugh.
Yes, it's not on your report, but Legion Way at the east end of Legion Way, people have pulled off the road onto the grass and torn it up very, very badly. It's a mess. I guess I'm answering my own question. I know there's no way we can catch these people at this point in time, but it is considerable damage done to the grass, and I'd just like to point out that that's going to be repaired under taxpayers' dollars. I just wish we could come up with a way of catching these people.
Can we not close it?
Well,
No.
not at that end.
No.
I think where Councilor Cameron's referring to is where it goes into the water plant, in that.
It's east of that, it's past there, it's past the boat, the boat launch. People just traditionally pull off there in the summer onto the grass, which is fine, but for some reason, I guess they don't realize that this time of year, the grass is a little on the soft side.
Yeah.
Or the ground is a little on the soft side, and it is, there's some pretty heavy ruts in there that are going to take some repairs. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Councillor Dilba?
I can maybe help that out a little, of what Councillor Cameron's talking about. I think it was opening day of Walleye.
Was it you?
No.
No, it wasn't.
But
No, I'm sorry. It
I
wasn't.
was down there, and I think maybe next year, we should maybe try to fence it off, that part, you know, because common sense says you don't park there, but a 4x4 says they can park there.
No.
And there's 3 of them at that time.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to mention that damage was not done on opening day. That damage has been done in the last 4 or 5 days.
Oh, okay, because I was down there, I saw it with my own eyes, 3 of them, right up to the very, it was sad. So
Yeah.
maybe we can fence that off, but thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple. So I can find them again now. I will, because I marked them. Okay, so on page 4 of 5, operations municipal drains, the County Road 2 drain, we're talking about Robinson Consultants on County Road 2. Robinson Consultants have now been able to gain access to the CN rail line, and the report is expected soon. Which tells me then that they've had some trouble gaining access to CN, but we finally got it. I'm assuming that he probably had to exercise some of the authority of his office to get it. No?
No, I think we found a contact for him and put him in touch with the right people, finally.
Oh, okay. No. So this work on this County Road 2 drain has been ongoing for the better part of a year now. Do we have any, and I know it's a slow process, but I've had 2 inquiries about it in the last 2 weeks. Do we have any idea, I know, report is expected soon, is he giving you any kind of an idea of when?
I haven't received a date from him, have you, Dave?
I have not.
Okay, and so the same question with JRDR drain, those are the issues that are still outstanding there, I recall them.
Yeah, and I think we did have some email correspondence with him last week, just verifying some dollar figures from the drainage referee's order.
Right.
So I expect that'll get resolved quickly.
Okay, now I'm going just on the same page, a little bit higher up under Operations Environmental Services, on the second box under Environmental Services. Equipment repairs have been required at the water treatment plant, which were unexpected. Turbidity analyzer and UV lamp assemblies. This, coupled with an invoice for work done late in 2018, but not invoiced until 2019, may push the line item over the budget slightly, which is basically what we were talking about in an earlier meeting today. What I don't understand is how we miss getting an invoice from 2018. And I'm assuming that what we've seen here is it 2 items on the same invoice, one pertaining to 18 and the other to 19, or how did that come about?
Actually, what happened there, Mr. Mayor, was that the work wasn't done until late in December of 2018, but it was budgeted in 2018. Essentially, what we didn't do and should have is whip forward the money to pay for it.
Okay, all right, so it was late work,
Yeah.
not invoiced until early 19.
Yeah.
And obviously too late to be accrued backward. Okay. So those are my questions. Are there any other questions with the CAO's report before I call for the motion to approve the CAO's administrative update? Nothing else? Okay, then Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Municipal Council received the CAO's administration report as presented.
Thank you very much. Discussion, any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, so then I'm going to council inquiries and notices of motion. Anybody have anything?
One,
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I've got one for the operations manager. We had an incident on Beverly Street, with the fence at the end of Beverly Street being pushed there with the snow. Has our works crew managed to get that straightened up down there now?
Through the chair, I know that it's in the work plan. I'm not sure if it's completed as of yet.
Councillor Cameron?
Yes, just one, and this is for information. I will be away from May 30th to June the 9th. I will only miss the CDC meeting.
Just to the CAO, can we take that under note and dock his pay? Okay, thank you.
I will plead that my granddaughter is graduating from law school. I must be there. Does that have any weight?
No.
Oh,
I think
Not
with
easy.
that, it's better pay, we just got a lawyer in the family.
thank you, John.
Councillor Dillawa?
Yes, I have one, maybe for the recreation or the CEO. I've had some people call me about, up on Albert Street. A gentleman gave us some land there and we're supposed to fix it up, and I was up there today, and boys, it's a mud hole. Nothing's been done. He actually appreciated if we could maybe get onto it sometime.
Was that Albert Street?
Yeah, I guess it's part of Albert Street that goes bumped into our park. Actually, it was, the people who built the homes up there, Hamilton and.
You may remember, Mr. Mayor, that when Albert
You cut a
Street
deal.
started to be developed, the municipality held some land. This was the old Glock subdivision.
Yes, yes, yes.
And Mr. Racine.
Yes?
Purchased, and he's actually building 2 more homes there this year. We did cut a deal, and we ended up getting land that would allow us to build a pedestrian pathway from the end of Albert Street down into the South Center.
Yes.
Johnstown Park, and the pathway hasn't had anything done with it yet, but the land is there, and we just need to come up with a plan and some money.
Okay, and as well, that once you cross that patch, then you're into what used to be a soccer field, where we've planted quite a number of new trees.
Yep.
So,
And the soccer field is still there.
yeah, well, I'm just worried that with traffic across there, the trees may come under some pressure from,
Footprints?
well,
It's only intended for pedestrian access, not for
Okay.
vehicles. Yeah.
where am I here? Councillor inquiries, notice of motion, anybody else? Okay, so I'll just bring one step forward. I kind of warned the CAO it was coming forward today, so in my mailbox over there, I have the package that we picked up at the fire department. I think it was called Municipal Firefighting 101. And one of the things that we learned is that our bylaw to establish a fire department is quite outdated and in need of an update. So I'll be returning all my materials over to, I think I'm just gonna turn them over to the deputy clerk, and that'll be a good project for the deputy clerk. So that's, we'd like to see that come forward. And then lastly, just put the staff on notice so that we get this information either at our municipal modernization meeting or at the next admin finance meeting. Can we get a sort of a comprehensive report on our employment levels, union and non-union, to have sort of in front of us as we go through this exercise on municipal modernization, and just have that in front of us so that we know what we're talking about. So that's my 2 inquiries. And are there any others? Again, one last time, hearing none. Okay, so I'll proceed then to the mayor's report. And part of the mayor's report is kind of obviated by the announcement this afternoon, or this, yes, I guess late this morning, that a lot of the pressure is off us because of the Premier's letter that we all received and read today concerning the changes that they were going to be making mid-year. But I did want to inform council that at the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus meeting on Friday, you know there's been a lot of talk about restructuring the health units, and they want to restructure the health units from, I think it's 50-some down to 10. And the first proposal that we had was that the Lanark, Leeds and Grenville Health Unit would be amalgamated with the Ottawa Health Unit. And for those of you that may not realize this, the Ottawa Public Health Unit is really just a department within the city of Ottawa. And our what's the title for the director of the health unit? Oh, for instance, Dr. Stewart.
Dr. Stewart.
Yes, but what's her name? Medical Officer of Health.
Yes.
Has indicated that there's not much synergy between what happens in the city and what happens in the rural area. And so her counter proposal to that was that the Lanark, Leeds and Grenville would be amalgamated not with the city of Ottawa, but possibly with the city of Kingston and the city of Belleville to make up the roughly 1 million inhabitants that the province hopes to see in these new health units. Now, at the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, they did not really take kindly to amalgamating with Belleville and Kingston either, and a motion came forward that there would be only one health unit for all of the counties in the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. So that's all of the counties from Kawartha Lakes to the Quebec border would constitute one health unit. It seemed to me to be too large a geographic area, and the motion was more put forward to examine the opportunities. Now, I think that in view of the Premier's letter today, that's probably going to result in not so much an immediate restructuring of the health units as more of a discussion between the municipalities and how those health units may be restructured to get to a smaller number. But I'm just sort of making council aware, in case you hear that in the wind, that motion came before the Premier's letter. Again, just an announcement to the rest of council, though I think you all had a notice from the Port General Manager. Our application to the National Trade Corridor Fund was submitted on Friday. It was successfully submitted. A receipt was received, a confirmation receipt was received, and so now we have about the next 3 weeks to continue our lobbying efforts, and I've spoken to the person that's coordinating those efforts. We want to be in front of as many members of Parliament in our geographic service area as we can be before the final decision is made on that application. We've already reported that Mayor Jones and I will be meeting with the Honourable Jeff Urich on Thursday about the Highway 401 Safety Task Force. And then the last thing, replying to Councillor Hunter about parking on County Road 21, I had another discussion with the Director of Public Works at County on Thursday last, and I'm expecting that the Director will bring his recommendations to County Council Committee of the Whole meeting. I think it's June the 7th or something, and I think that I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think we'll be satisfied with the recommendation that he brings forward, and the problem will be addressed. So that's my report, and looking for a motion to receive the Mayor's report, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council receives the Mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And item number 15 on the agenda is the question period. Any questions from anybody present? Hearing none. Now announce that we do have a closed session here this evening. Councillor Dillabaugh, would you bring forth the motion to go into the closed session?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, the municipality council proceeds in a closed session at 8:06 p.m. in order to address the matter pertaining to personal matters about the identifiable individual, including municipality or local board employees. Session planning minutes, closed session dated January 24th, 2019, acquisition, deposition of land, municipality or local board. Minutes of closed session dated January 21st, 2019.
Okay, motion to go into the closed session at 8:06 p.m. And those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and we'll have a 5-minute break to go into the closed session.
Councillor Dillabaugh, that the closed meeting does now adjourn and the open meeting of municipal council does resume at 9:26 p.m. Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so motion to rise from the closed session. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now then, reporting out from the closed session, we have the approval of 2 sets of minutes from the closed session. Who has that motion?
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council approves the minutes of closed session dated January 21st, 2019, January 24th, 2019.
Okay, and approval of those closed minutes. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so reporting further from the closed session, council met in closed session with the CAO to review a report prepared by the CAO. And took no further action and agreed to defer further action on the report until a subsequent meeting. So that's the report out of the closed session. And now I'm looking for the motion to, first is the confirmatory bylaw. Who has the confirmatory bylaw?
I have it, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-29.
Okay, those in favor of the confirmatory bylaw?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now the motion to adjourn the council meeting.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council does now adjourn at 9:27 p.m.
And could I get the motion, please?
Okay.
Motion to adjourn, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you.